I just got back from Wild Robot, and wow, okay, I gotta really think about this one. The movie is based on a book by Peter Brown. It's been in my household many times. I haven't read it. I took my 15-year-old daughter, who's read it twice, and about 6 times during the movie, I asked her, "Is this in the book? Is this in the book?" And she said yes every time. So I'm gonna assume this is a faithful adaptation of the book, although viewers can correct me in the comments. Now, the trailer, I talked to some of my buddies about this, and they thought, well, this is gonna be like the Iron Giant. And it really turns out to be a lot more like WALL-E with little shades of Big Hero 6. And the character sort of tiny bit looking like Nightmare Before Christmas, a little bit of that stuff, but WALL-E is a dominant visual, audio-visual influence in this movie. Problem is, WALL-E is that mashup of post-apocalyptic nightmare but fun, cutesy musical. And you know, you could show WALL-E to a 6-year-old and 8-year-old, and they're not going to see the other stuff in it. They're going to see the cutesy stuff. But the Wild Robot doesn't have that stuff in it. It has taken a path, and I applaud the movie makers for making certain choices that are going against the grain of animation trends to be much more chaotic, much darker. I even said to my daughter beforehand, you know, how many characters are going to have giant eyeballs, giant ears, small noses? And we thought it was going to be a lot. It actually turns out to be almost none, arguably none. Even the Wild Robot herself or itself, not sure genders of robots, even the Wild Robot looks bulbous and spidery, very menacing at the beginning in an annoying chatbot sort of way. But of course, the robot, you may know this or not, and this is not a spoiler, becomes more and more, let's say, homely, like a conservator of the island, and becomes more motherly. There's a dominant mother theme in here as this robot starts to raise a gosling, a young goose, who grows up, and the robot needs to teach it how to fly. Now, I said it's chaotic and dark. The artwork, though, is, I guess, darker. It's watercolory impressionistic, which is Monet, and I don't know how to feel about that blending with the chaotic darkness of an island. I think it's Pacific Northwest, where all the animals are basically trying to eat each other. There's a strong, like, survival of the fittest, kill or be killed thematic thrust to the first act, into the second act, even showing up in the third act, where the movie is going to split, again, not a spoiler, a wild divide between the environment, this natural island world of all these mammals and birds, versus the hyper-technological world that humans have made. They divorced themselves from the real world. It looks like there's been global warming, as the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge is flooded over in this movie, but they've got these sort of isolated, hyper WALL-E technological areas where robots farm for them, and they have great leisure time because robots do all their work. So the in-between point of those two is the robot herself, Rose, so now made by the Rosin Corporation, which I'm assuming is a call out to the Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep novel by Philip K. Dick, which was turned into Blade Runner, the Rosin Corporation. So you get little, like, darker hints of what this robot might become or is supposed to be. Said all that, you know, those are my impressions. The plot, I mean, go a plot review, whatever. It's the robot has to get adjusted to the island, accidentally kills a goose and a bunch of goslings, saves the one egg. The egg turns out to be a gosling the robot raises. The gosling kind of does the beeps and boops and the technological patter of the robot. So there's a mother-child relationship and a nature-nurture thing going on in this movie, where the robot has to grow into being a mother, first of the gosling, then of all the creatures, almost a Noah figure, if you want to go patriarchal, biblical patriarchy. But this robot becomes, sort of, as I said, conservator of the island. Really, a lot of the thrust of this movie, though, if you want to look at it from a mother perspective, is how is a child raised? If the gosling is an analog to a human child, how are mothers adapting to being mothers? There's even a line in here, I disagree with it, where it says something like, motherhood isn't instinctual, you just learn it on the fly. And so the movie is playing with this idea of programming equals instincts, and you have to overcome your instincts. The robot does that to a degree, actually to a great degree, and then, you know, the animals in this movie do too. And to the extent I can understand his abstract ideas, I'm going along with this movie and find it kind of fascinating. But then again, some things about it bother me. You know, a robot like this coming out in 2024 who goes from being an annoying product to a mother. I'm a little worried about this. In WALL-E, I took it as a good thing, where the WALL-E and Eve have to become technological helpers of humans who are the dominant stewards of the earth. You know, the humans in the hierarchy are up here. Wall-E and Eve are helping them out. In this movie, it's very clear that the wild robot is a mother savior type of figure. And robots can be mothers? Is that even an idea we should take out of this movie? I like a little bit more technological worry and cynicism as I saw in Mitchells and the Machines, I think a much better movie from a couple years ago. Also, even in The Iron Giant and Big Hero 6, which are movies I really love too. I thought that, plus the animals, and this is Disneyfied in a way, and sort of a semi-spoiler, okay? I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe not. So don't listen to this if you don't want spoilers, but the animals sort of giving up their predation of each other for the greater good and the island uniting closer towards the end in the second and third act. I thought in some sense that makes sense as a political statement. As another sense, like a biological statement, it's completely hokey. So when this movie is chaotic and dark, it mixes that and sometimes has these moments of, I think, homely syrupiness or sentimentality that I didn't think jived well with some of those other parts of the movie that frankly I found more interesting as going against the grain of modern animation movies from the last, say, 5 to 10 years. Now, maybe that's me. I'm a child of the 80s, and I just really, really like a lot of those darker kids movies from the late 70s into the late 80s, which a lot of which I've talked about on this channel. And this movie sort of is going that direction along with Wall-E. It's the predecessor it's looking up to. But then it's just a little too hokey for me at times, either intellectually or either in these swelling emotional moments where the music is just too overbearing in that sense. That means I have a complicated relationship to this movie. I'm not telling you to not watch it. I hope I'm telling you, this is a thoughtful science fiction movie that probably the book is better, is my wild guess, or maybe a better artistic experience or aesthetic experience for you. But if you have to watch the movie, go ahead. I think you'll appreciate it if you can think about it. Problem here is, though, this is not a children's movie in my opinion. There are two children right behind me, 5-year-old and 6-year-old. I heard audibly a kid say, "I'm scared." There's very chaotic sequences where things are fighting other things or trying to take out other things in this movie. I don't think this is for young kids, as Wall-E is not for young kids, but it could be watched, as I said, for young kids. So anyway, that's what I think about Wild Robot. I think this is more an adult movie, thoughtful about the environment, technology, and interestingly, there's almost no humans in this, so that's this wild juxtaposition between those two things. Anyway, have you seen The Wild Robot? Have you read the book? What do you think of all this stuff? What do you think of anything I said in the video? But I'm really interested in takes in this movie, and I'm gonna guess this movie is gonna do pretty well with critics. I think I'm gonna wild guess it. I have not looked and say that I think I'm gonna say this movie is worse than the majority of critics. But they might be right, actually. So I think I understand this movie pretty darn well as an avid science fiction person, but also maybe I'm missing something or I'm not seeing something. So please subscribe to the channel for more great content. Thank you and have a great day.